Hare Krishna, everybody out there in cyberspace, all our loved ones. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books here at Radha Lane in the library of the Sannyas quarters in Shri Radha Nila Madhavadam. And we're on the 5th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, and welcome aboard. First, let's hear, like we always do every day, the prayer of Sanatana Goswami, explaining exactly what the Bhagavatam is. Srimad-Bhagavata Mahima Stotram. It goes like this. Sarva Shastabdipi Yusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprana. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwan Doditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master, Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Padaya Premavar Shaksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Man Nistadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my good wealth, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu saduta dayin atini chuchata kada hanamuncha kadachin mam premnarit kandayospuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So, the elder brother of Uttanapad, who now wants to renounce, unlike leaders today who want to stay in their positions until they die, those who are actually spiritual and qualified, they want to renounce. But Priyavrata had met, guess who? Narada Muni, who's always running around the universe and convincing everyone to renounce. So he was in the forest and he was meditating and, in completely renounced position. And then because Uttanapad wanted to renounce, and he's the son of whom? Swayambhuva Manu, one of the 12 Mahajans, who's the son of whom? Lord Brahma. So Swayambhuva Manu's there trying to convince him and he can't. So he calls Brahma. So Brahma comes, and Shiv is there, Narada is there, Brahma is there, Swayambhuva Manu is there. That's 4 out of 12 of the Mahajans are there to convince Priyavrata to take charge of the universe. I mean, you think you got pressure? Ooh. So now Brahma is speaking to Priyavrata. Chapter 5, text 1, verse 13. My dear Priyavrata, by the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all living entities accept different types of bodies for birth and death, activity, lamentation, illusion, fear of future dangers, and happiness and distress. Purport. Every living entity who has come to this material world has come here for material enjoyment. But according to his own karma, activities, he must accept a certain type of body given to him by material nature under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 3.27, Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha. Everything is being done by Prakriti, material nature, under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Modern scientists do not know why there are varieties of bodies in 8,400,000 forms. The fact is that all these bodies are ordained for the living entities by the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to the living entities' desires. He gives the living entities freedom to act as they like, but on the other hand, they must accept the body according to the reactions of their activities. Thus, there are different types of bodies. Some living entities have short durations of life, whereas others live for fantastic durations. Every one of them, however, from Brahma down to the ant, acts according to the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is sitting in everyone's heart. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya chaham riti sanavishto matak smritir jnanam apohanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. It is not a fact, however, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives direction to certain living entities in one way and other living entities in another way. The truth is that every living entity has a certain desire, and the Supreme Lord gives them a chance to fulfill it. The best course, therefore, is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and act according to his desire. One who does so is liberated. Text 14. My dear boy, all of us are bound by the Vedic injunctions to the divisions of Varnashram according to our qualities and work. These divisions are difficult to avoid because they are scientifically arranged. We must therefore carry out our duties of Varnashram Dharma like bulls obliged to move according to the direction of a driver pulling on ropes knotted to their noses. Purport. In this verse, the words Tantyam Guna Karma Dhamma Bhi are very important. We each get a body according to our association with the gunas, the qualities or modes of material nature, and we act accordingly. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the four orders of the social system, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, are arranged according to guna and karma, their qualities and work. There is some controversy. Come in. Hare Krishna. We haven't seen you in some time. Nice to see you again. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the four orders of the social system, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, are arranged according to guna and karma, their qualities and work. There is some controversy about this, however, because some say that since one receives a body according to the guna and karma of his past life, it is one's birth that determines his social status. Others say, however, that one's birth according to the guna and karma of his past life is not the essential consideration, since one can change his guna and karma even in this life. Excuse me. Thus they say that the 4 divisions of the social order, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, should be arranged according to the guna and karma of this life. This version is confirmed in Srimad-Bhagavatam by Narada Muni, while instructing Maharaja Yudhishthira about the symptoms of guna and karma. Narada Muni said that these symptoms must govern the division of society. In other words, if a person born in the family of a Brahmana has the symptoms of a Shudra, he should be designated as a Shudra. Similarly, if a Shudra has Brahminical qualities, he should be designated a Brahmana. The Varnashram system is scientific. Therefore, if we accept the divisions of Varna and Ashram according to the Vedic instructions, our lives will be successful. Unless human society is thus divided and arranged, it cannot be perfect. As stated in the Vishnu Purana 389, Varnashrama Charavarta Purushena Padak Puman Vishnur Aradyate Panta Nanyatat Toshakaranam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is worshipped by the proper execution of prescribed duties in the system of Varna and Ashram. There is no other way to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One must be situated in the institution of the 4 Varnas and Ashrams. All of human society is meant to worship Lord Vishnu. At the present moment, however, human society does not know that this is the ultimate goal or perfection of life. Therefore, instead of worshipping Lord Vishnu, people have been educated to worship matter. According to the direction of modern society, men think they can advance in civilization by manipulating matter to build skyscrapers, big roads, automobiles, and so on. Such a civilization must certainly be called materialistic because its people do not know the goal of life. The goal of life is to reach Vishnu, but instead of reaching Vishnu, people are bewildered by the external manifestation of the material energy. Therefore, progress in material advancement is blind, and the leaders of such material advancement are also blind. They are leading their followers in the wrong way. It is best, therefore, to accept the injunctions of the Vedas, which are mentioned in this verse as yadvachi. In accordance with those injunctions, everyone should find out whether he is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, and should thus be educated accordingly. Then his life will be successful. Otherwise, all of human society will be confused. If human society is divided scientifically according to Varna and Ashrama, and if the Vedic directions are followed, one's life, regardless of his position, will be successful. It is not that Brahmanas will be elevated to the transcendental platform, but not the Shudras. If the Vedic injunctions are followed, all of them, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, will be elevated to the transcendental platform, and their lives will be successful. The injunctions in the Vedas are explicit directions from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The example cited in this verse is that bulls tied by ropes in their nostrils move according to the direction of the driver. Similarly, if we move according to the instructions of the Vedas, the perfect paths for our lives will be set. Otherwise, if we do not move in that way but act according to our whimsical ideas, our lives will be spoiled by confusion and will end in despair. Actually, because people at the present moment are not following the instructions of the Vedas, they are all confused. We must therefore accept this instruction by Lord Brahma to Priyavrata as the factual, scientific direction leading to the success of life. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 16:23. Yak shastra vidimutridja vartate kama karataha na siddhim avapnopi, na sukham, na param gatim. If we do not live according to the injunctions of the Shastras, the Vedas, we shall never achieve success in life, to say nothing of happiness or elevation to higher statuses of living. Text 15. My dear Priyavrata, according to our association with different modes of material nature, the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives us our specific bodies and the happiness and distress we achieve. We must therefore remain situated as He is and be conducted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, exactly as a blind man is led by a person who has eyes with which to see. Purport. By material means, one cannot avoid the happiness and distress unique to his particular body. There are 8,400,000 bodily forms, each destined to enjoy and suffer a certain amount of happiness and distress. This we cannot change, for the happiness and distress are ordained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in accordance with whose decision we have received our bodies. Since we cannot avoid the plan of the Supreme Godhead, we must agree to be directed by Him, just as a blind man is led by a person who has eyes. Under any circumstances, if we remain in the condition allotted to us by the Supreme Lord and follow His instructions, we will become perfect. The main purpose of life is to follow the injunctions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is such instructions that constitute one's religion or occupational duty. In Bhagavad Gita, therefore, Lord Krishna says, Sarva dharman parijajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Give up all other engagements, simply surrender unto me and follow me. Bhagavad Gita 18:66. This process of surrendering by following the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not meant for any particular caste or creed. A Brahmana can surrender, and so can a Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. Everyone can adopt this process. As stated in this verse, Chakshushmatanda iva niyamana. One should follow the Lord in a way a blind man follows a person who has eyes. If we follow the Supreme Personality of Godhead by following the directions He gives in the Vedas and Bhagavad Gita, our lives will be successful. The Lord therefore says, Manmana bhavavad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mami vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyo sime. Always think of me, become my devotee, and offer respect and obeisances unto me. Then you will certainly come back home, back to Godhead. I promise you this, because you are my very dear friend. Bhagavad Gita 18:65. This instruction is meant for everyone, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. If anyone from any division of life surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and follows His instructions, his life will be successful. The previous verse has given the analogy of bulls moving under the direction of the driver of a bullock cart. The bulls, being completely surrendered to the driver, remain wherever he wants to place them and eat whatever he wants them to eat. Similarly, being completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we should not aspire for happiness or regret distress. We must be satisfied with the position allotted to us by the Lord. We should follow the path of devotional service and not be dissatisfied with the happiness and distress He has given. People in the material modes of passion and ignorance generally cannot understand the plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with its 8,400,000 forms of life. But the human form affords one the special privilege to understand this plan, engage in devotional service, and elevate oneself to the highest position of perfection by following the Lord's instructions. The entire world is working under the influence of the modes of material nature, especially ignorance and passion. But if people engage in hearing and chanting about the glories of the Supreme Lord, their lives can be successful, and they can be elevated to the highest perfection. In the Brihanaradiya Purana, therefore it is said, Harir Nama eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, gatiranyata. In this age of Kali, there is no other way for spiritual perfection than the holy name of the Lord. Everyone should be given the chance to hear the holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for thus one will gradually come to understand his real position in life and be elevated to the transcendental position above the mode of goodness. Thus all impediments to his progress will be cut to pieces. In conclusion, therefore, we must be satisfied in whatever position we have been put into by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we should try to engage ourselves in his devotional service. Then our lives will be successful. Text 16. Even if one is liberated, he nevertheless accepts a body is received according to his past karma. Without misconceptions, however, he regards his enjoyment and suffering due to that karma the way an awakened person regards a dream he had while sleeping. He thus remains steadfast and never works to achieve another material body under the influence of the three modes of material nature. Purport. The difference between a liberated and conditioned soul is that the conditioned soul is under the concept of bodily life, whereas a liberated person knows that he is not the body, but a spirit, different from the body. Priyavrata might have thought that although a conditioned soul is forced to act according to the laws of nature, why should he, who was far advanced in spiritual understanding, accept the same kind of bondage and impediments to spiritual advancement? To answer this doubt, Lord Brahma informed him that even those who are liberated do not resent accepting in the present body the result of their past activities. While sleeping, one dreams many unreal things, but when he awakens, he disregards them and makes progress in factual life. Similarly, a liberated person, one who has completely understood that he is not the body, but a spirit soul, disregards past activities performed in ignorance and performs his present activities in such a way that they produce no reactions. This is described in Bhagavad Gita 3.9. Yagyartat karmanonyatra lokoyam karmabandhanaha. If one performs activities for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality, the Yogya Purusha, his work does not produce reactions, whereas karmis who act for themselves are bound by the reactions of their work. A liberated person, therefore, does not think about whatever he has ignorantly done in the past. Instead, he acts in such a way that he will not produce another body by fruitive activities. As clearly mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Mam cha yo vyabhicharina bhakti yogina sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuya yakalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Bhagavad Gita 14:26. Regardless of what we have done in our past lives, if we engage ourselves in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord in this life, we will always be situated in the Brahmabhuta, liberated state, free from reactions, and will not be obliged to accept another material body. Tyaktva deham punar janma naitimam eti sorjana. Bhagavad Gita 4:9. After giving up the body, one who has acted in that way does not accept another material body, but instead goes back home, back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Text 17. Even if he goes from forest to forest, one who is not self-controlled must always fear material bondage because he is living with 6 co-wives, the mind and knowledge-acquiring senses. Even householder life, however, cannot harm a self-satisfied, learned man who has conquered his senses. Purport. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung Grihe va vanete take ha goranga balidake, whether one is situated in the forest or at home. If he is engaged in the devotional service of Lord Chaitanya, he is a liberated person. Here this is also repeated. For one who has not controlled his senses, going to the forest to become a so-called yogi is meaningless, because his uncontrolled mind and senses are going with him. He cannot achieve anything, even by giving up household life and staying in the forest. When I was living in Spain, they used to have a saying. It's Vedic principles are everywhere. They used to go, you take your forehead with you wherever you go. That's kind of cute. Formerly, many mercantile men from the upcountry of India, upcountry means the mountains, used to go to Bengal, and thus there is a familiar saying, if you go to Bengal, your fortune will go with you. Same thing. Our concern, therefore, should be to control the senses. And since the senses cannot be controlled unless engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, our most important duty is to engage the senses in devotional service. Rishikena, 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 Rishikesha, Sevanam, Bhaktir, Uchite. Bhakti means engagement of the purified senses in the service of the Lord. Herein Lord Brahma indicates that instead of going to the forest with uncontrolled senses, it is better and more secure to engage the senses in the service of the Lord. Even household life can do no harm to a self-controlled person acting in this way. It cannot force him into material bondage. Srila Rupa Goswami has further enunciated this position. Iha yasya hayir dasye karmana manasa gira nikila swapyavastasu jivan mukta sa uchite. Regardless of one's circumstances, if one fully engages his activities, mind and words in the devotional service of the Lord, he should be understood to be a liberated person. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a responsible officer and a householder, yet his service to the cause of expanding the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is unique. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur says, Durdan tendriya kalasarpa patali proktata sangstrayate. The sense organs are certainly our greatest enemies, and they are therefore compared to venomous serpents. However, if a venomous serpent is bereft of its poisoned fangs, it is no longer fearful. Similarly, if the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord, there is no need to fear their activities. The devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement move within this material world, but because their senses are fully engaged in the service of the Lord, they are always aloof from the material world. They are always living in a transcendental position. Text 18. One who is situated in household life and who systematically conquers his mind and 5 sense organs is like a king in his fortress who conquers his powerful enemies. After one has been trained in household life and his lusty desires have decreased, he can move anywhere without danger. Purport. The Vedic system of 4 varnas and 4 ashramas is very scientific, and its entire purpose is to enable one to control the senses. Before entering household life, grihastha ashram, a student is fully trained to become jitendriya, a conqueror of the senses. Such a mature student is allowed to become a householder, and because he was first trained in conquering his senses, he retires from household life and becomes vanaprastha as soon as the strong waves of youthful life are past and he reaches the verge of old age at 50 years or slightly more. Hare Krishna. Then, after being further trained, he accepts sannyas. He is then fully learned and fully learned and renounced person who can move anywhere and everywhere without fear of being captivated by material desires. The senses are considered very powerful enemies. As a king in a strong fortress can conquer powerful enemies, so a householder in grihastha ashram, household life, can conquer the lusty desires of youth and be very secure when he takes vanaprastha and sannyas. Text 19. Lord Brahma continued, "My dear Priyavrata, seek shelter inside the opening in the lotus feet of the Lord, whose navel is also like a lotus. Thus conquer the 6 sense organs, the mind and knowledge-acquiring senses. Accept material enjoyment, because the Lord extraordinarily has ordered you to do this. You will thus always be liberated from material association and be able to carry out the Lord's orders in your constitutional position." Purport. There are 3 kinds of men within this material world. Those who are trying to enjoy the senses to the utmost are called karmis. Above them are the jnanis, who try to control the urges of the senses. And above them are the yogis, who have already conquered the senses. None of them, however, are situated in a transcendental position. Only devotees who belong to none of the above-mentioned groups are transcendental. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 14:26, "Mam chaya vyabhicharina bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati jaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate." One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Lord Brahma herein advises Priyavrata to remain transcendental in the fortress, not of family life, but of the lotus feet of the Lord. Abja na bhangri saduja. When a bumblebee enters the opening of a lotus flower and drinks its honey, it is protected by the petals. When a bumblebee enters the opening of a lotus flower and drinks its honey, it is fully protected by the petals of the lotus. The bee is undisturbed by sunshine and other external influences. Similarly, one who always seeks shelter at the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead is protected from all dangers. It is therefore said in Srimad-Bhagavatam 10:14-54, Samashrita ye parapalava pavam mahatpadam punya yasho marare he bhavam buddhir vatsapadam padam 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 yad vipadam atesham. One who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, everything becomes easier. Indeed, even crossing the great ocean of nations, Bhavam Buddhi, is exactly like crossing the hoofprint created by the calf, Vatsapadam. For such a devotee, there is no question of remaining in a place where every step is dangerous. Our actual duty is to carry out the supreme order of the personality of Godhead. If we are fixed in our determination to carry out the supreme order of the Lord, we are always secure, regardless of where we are situated, whether in hell or in heaven. Herein the words Prakritim Bhajasva are very significant. Prakritim refers to one's constitutional position. Every living entity has the constitutional position of being an eternal servant of God. Therefore, Lord Brahma advised Priyavrata, be situated in your original position as an eternal servant of the Lord. If you carry out his orders, you will never fail. If you carry out his orders, you will never fall, even in the midst of material enjoyment. I mean, that's a pretty far out benediction. Eh? I'll read that again. Be situated in your original position as an eternal servant of the Lord. If you carry out his orders, you will never fall, even in the midst of material enjoyment. Material enjoyment achieved by dint of one's fruitive activities differs from material enjoyment given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A devotee sometimes appears to be in a very opulent position, but he accepts that position to follow the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, a devotee is never affected by material influences. The devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement are preaching all over the world in accordance with the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They have to meet many karmis, but by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are unaffected by material influences. He has blessed them, as described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Kabu na badibe tomara vishaya taranga punarpi yetai pabe mora sangha. A sincere devotee who engages in the service of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by preaching his cult all over the world will never be affected by Vishaya Taranga, material influences. On the contrary, in due course of time, he will return to the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and will thus have perpetual association with him. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Text 20. Sri Shukadeva Goswami continued, after thus being fully instructed by Lord Brahma, who is the spiritual master of the three worlds, Priyavrata, his own position being inferior, offered obeisances, accepted the order, and carried it out with great respect. Purport. Sri Priyavrata was the grandson of Lord Brahma. Therefore, according to social etiquette, his position was inferior. It is the duty of the inferior to carry out the order of the superior with great respect. Priyavrata therefore immediately said, "Yes, sir, I shall carry out your order." Priyavrata is described as a Mahabhagavat, a great devotee. The duty of a great devotee is to carry out the order of the spiritual master, or the spiritual master of the spiritual master, in the parampara system. As described in Bhagavad Gita 4.2, Evam parampara praptam, one has to receive the instructions of the Supreme Lord through the disciplic chain of spiritual masters. A devotee of the Lord always considers himself a servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Text 21. Lord Brahma was then worshipped by Manu, who respectfully satisfied him as well as he could. Priyavrata and Narada also looked upon Brahma with no tinges of resentment. This is very interesting. Here's the guru, and the great-grandfather. Of course, it was his father also, and his spiritual master also. So, natural. But he didn't feel resentment that his disciple was being asked to do something other than what he said. This is the real parallel lines of authority solution. Right? This is the real parallel lines of authority solution. Everybody gets on the same page and does what Krishna wants us to do. Isn't it? Okay. Having engaged Priyavrata in accepting his father's request, Lord Brahma returned to his abode, Satyaloka, which is indescribable by the endeavor of mundane mind or words. I heard Gopi Puranadana Prabhu give a very nice point on this, and that is that even the most elevated sannyasis, in India sometimes they take sannyas very early. Shankaracharya took when he was 7 or 9. Took sannyas when he was 7 or 9. Just digest that for a second. Huh? But Gopi made the point that when he was born he had a mother and a father. Even liberated souls, when they come into the material world, they have a mother and father. So, his first guru was his mother. So now there's this whole thing in our movement that, some women don't want to be called Mataji because they feel like they want to be called Prabhu or whatever. But they don't realize the mother is the original guru of everybody, actually. And so her position is very elevated. So when we say Mataji, we're not saying it blindly. This is the real deal, When Lord Chaitanya came back to see his mother after he took sannyas, he fell down, touched her feet. He said, "Ma, I belong to you. You gave me my body. So whatever you say, I'll do. You want me to give up sannyas? I will. Right now." Of course, Sachimata, she's not going to tell him to give up sannyas, She just said, "Okay, don't go to Vrindavan, go to Jagannath Puri, and therefore I can at least hear about you. People come and go. It's closer." He said, "Of course, immediately. I'll set my headquarters is in Jagannath Puri." And she was happy. So, there you have it. Of course, that doesn't mean if your mother tells you to stay in Maya that you should just do what she says. Anyway. But when you're a 3-year-old, you don't have any choice. Okay. Having engaged, I will read this verse again. Lord Brahma was then worshipped by Manu, who respectfully satisfied him as well as he could. Priyavrata and Narada also looked upon Brahma with no tinges of resentment. Having engaged Priyavrata in accepting his father's request, Lord Brahma returned to his abode, Satyaloka, which is indescribable by the endeavor of mundane mind or words. Purport. Manu was certainly very satisfied that Lord Brahma had persuaded his son Priyavrata to take the responsibility for ruling the world. Priyavrata and Narada were also very satisfied Although Brahma had forced Priyavrata to accept the management of worldly affairs, thus breaking his vow to remain brahmachari and completely engage in devotional service, Narada and Priyavrata did not look upon Brahma with resentment. Narada was not at all sorry that he had been frustrated in making Priyavrata a disciple. Both Priyavrata and Narada were exalted personalities who knew how to respect Lord Brahma. Therefore, instead of looking upon Brahma with resentment, they very feelingly offered him their respect. Lord Brahma then returned to his celestial abode known as Satyaloka, which is described here as being impeccable and being unapproachable by words. It is stated in this verse that Lord Brahma returned to his residence, which is as important as his own personality. Lord Brahma is the creator of this universe and the most exalted personality within it. His lifetime is described in Bhagavad Gita 8:17. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyad Brahmano Vidu. The total duration of the 4 yugas is 4,300,000 years. And when that is multiplied 1,000 times, it equals 12 hours in the life of Brahma. Therefore, we cannot factually comprehend even 12 hours of Brahma's life, to say nothing of the 100 years that constitute his entire lifetime. How then can we understand his abode? The Vedic literatures describe that in Satyaloka there is no birth, death, old age, or disease. In other words, since Satyaloka is situated next to Brahmaloka, or the Brahman effulgence, it is almost as good as Vaikuntha Loka. Lord Brahma's abode is practically indescribable from our present status. Therefore it has been described as Avan Manasa Gochara, or beyond the description of our words and the imagination of our minds. Srimad-Bhagavatam 2:26 and 27 thus describes the abode of Lord Brahma: Yad Vai Praradyam Tad U Paramisjam Nayatra Shoko Na Jara Namrityur Naritir Nachod Vega. In such a loka, where one can remain situated for many millions and billions of years, there is no lamentation, nor is there old age, death, anxiety, or the influence of enemies. Text 22. Swayambhuva Manu, with the assistance of Lord Brahma, thus fulfilled his desires. With the permission of the great sage Narada, he delivered to his son the governmental responsibility for maintaining and protecting all the planets of the universe. Thus he achieved relief from the most dangerous, poisonous ocean of material desires. Now that's like paradoxical. That's paradoxical. Let's see what Prabhupada has to say about that. Swayambhuva purport. Swayambhuva Manu was practically hopeless because such a great personality as Narada was instructing his son Priyavrata not to accept household life. Now he was very pleased that Lord Brahma had interfered by inducing his son to accept the responsibility for ruling the government of the universe. Now let's point out that Daksha couldn't do that. What was the difference? You remember? Daksha's sons were preached to by Narada, and they took sannyas and never came back. And Daksha couldn't do anything. And then he had another 1,000 sons, and Narada did the same thing. And all he did was blaspheme Narada and curse him that he couldn't stay more than 3 days any place, which was a blessing for Narada. He liked that. So what's the difference?
Here he is acting according to the Swayambhuva Manu is acting according to Lord Brahma's wish.
Why?
Because Lord Brahma while obeying the orders of his
What
father.
what does that mean?
Discipline.
Yeah, spiritual master or
Authority. That's the point. If one is submissive to authority, then he gets the ability to adjust. Everything can be adjusted. But Daksha, he was not submissive to authority. Remember, he blasphemed Shiva, who was definitely his superior. He was so proud because of his position. So now we can understand how elevated Priyavrata is. He was submissive to authority. There's a verse in what is it? 13th chapter, 26th verse. Isn't it? Somebody know that verse? Come on, you can do it. 13:26. I don't remember the Sanskrit, but I remember the verse, at least. Something. Better than nothing, right? 13:26. Yeah. Anye tvevam ajananta shutvanyebhya upasate tepi chatyirancheva mrityum shuti pradayanaha. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. That's it. Swayambhuvamanu was practically hopeless because such a great personality as Narada was instructing his son Priyavrata not to accept household life. Now he was very pleased that Lord Brahma had interfered by inducing his son to accept the responsibility for ruling the government of the universe. From Bhagavad Gita we get information that Vaivasvata Manu was the son of the sun god, and that his son, Maharaja Ikshvaku, ruled this planet Earth. Swayambhuvamanu, however, appears to have been in charge of the entire universe, and he entrusted his son, Maharaj Priyavrata, the responsibility for maintaining and protecting all the planetary systems. Dara Mandala means planet. This Earth, for instance, is called Dara Mandala. Akila, however, means all or universal. It is therefore difficult to understand where Maharaj Priyavrata was situated. But from this literature, his position certainly appears greater than that of Ikshvaku, for he was entrusted with all the planetary systems of the entire universe. Another significant statement is that Swayambhuvamanu took great satisfaction from abnegating the responsibility for ruling all the planetary systems of the universe. At present, politicians are very eager to take charge of the government, and they engage their men in canvassing from door to door to get votes to win the post of president or a similar exalted office. On the contrary, however, herein we find that King Priyavrata had to be persuaded by Lord Brahma to accept the post of emperor of the entire universe. Similarly, his father, Swayambhuvamanu, felt relieved to entrust the universal government to Priyavrata. Thus it is evident that the kings and executive heads of government in the Vedic age never accepted their positions for sense enjoyment. Such exalted kings, who were known as Rajarshis, ruled only to maintain and protect the kingdom for the welfare of the citizens. The history of Priyavrata and Swayambhuvamanu describes how exemplary, responsible monarchs performed the duties of government with disinterest, keeping themselves always aloof from the contamination of material attachment. Material affairs have herein been compared to an ocean of poison. They have been described in a similar way by Srila Narottam Das Thakur in one of his songs, Sansara Vishanale, Diva Nishi Riyajwale, Judaitena Kainupaya. My heart is always burning in the fire of material existence, and I have made no provisions for getting out of it. Golokira Premadana, Harinama Sankirtana, Ratina Jan Mila Keni Toy. The only remedy is Harinam Sankirtan, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is imported from the spiritual world. Goloka Vrindavan. How unfortunate I am that I have no attraction for this. Manu wanted to seek shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore, when his son Priyavrata took charge of his worldly affairs, Manu was very relieved. That is the system of Vedic civilization. At the end of life, one must free himself from worldly affairs and completely engage in the service of the Lord. The word Surasi Vara Anumatena is also significant. Manu entrusted the government to his son with the permission of the great saint Narada. This is particularly mentioned because although Narada wanted Priyavrata to become free from all material affairs, when Priyavrata took charge of the universe by the request of Lord Brahma and Manu, Narada was also very pleased. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. That ends the reading of Srimad-Bhagavatam, 5th Canto, 1st chapter, on this day, 27th of March 2019, in the presence of the August Assembly of Vaishnavas, here, ISKCON of Houston, Texas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, it's time for that delightful open mic session. Okay, go ahead. Hannah.
We just read what Narottam Das Thakur said in one of his songs. The only remedy is Harinama Sankirtan, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is imported from the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. How unfortunate I am that I have no attraction for this. So, I don't know much about Narottam Das Thakur, but obviously he's a humble saint. But my question is for you, actually, personally. Do you have attraction for the holy name? And why does he say that he doesn't? Besides that he's being humble.
That is what real humility is. Real humility says, a person that actually is humble says that he doesn't have any attraction, even when he does. When Lord Chaitanya spoke, well, first of all, we have the Shikshasaka of Lord Chaitanya himself, where he says, Trinadapi Sunajan. And before that verse, the second verse, Nam Namakari Bahuda, Nija Sarva Shaktis, Chitarpita, Niyamata, Smarane, Nikalaha. Etadrichi Tapakripa, Bhagavan Mamapi, Dur Daivam Idishamiha Jani Nanuraga. My lords, you have millions of names, and each one of them is as powerful as you. And you've given them all to me. And not only that, you've given no hard and fast rules for chanting them. How easy, how good is that? But what? Still, I have no attachment for them. So sometimes people who are actually the most attached and the most advanced will speak these way in order to instruct others how they're supposed to approach spiritual life, how they're supposed to approach the holy name. So that's the last line in the second verse of the Shikshastaka. And what's the next verse? Chinadapi sunijina, tadorlapi sahishtana, amanina, manadena, kirtaniyak sarahari. So in order to kirtaniyak sarahari, you have to have some attachment. So last line of the previous verse, I don't have any attachment. Last line of the next verse, chant all the time. And in between is the way that you get attachment, by being humble, by not being proud, by being tolerant as a tree. And ultimately, amanina manadena. If somebody comes to you and gets on trouble, you give back respect, even if they disrespect you. And then you're safe. And then kirtaniyak sarahari. Then you can chant. And that's nam sankirtan. That's the difference between chanting without attachment and chanting with attachment. That's nam sankirtan. It's not mechanical. Hare Krishna, 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 da 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 da, ma 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 ma. Hare Krishna, ma 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 ma. Hare not ma 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 ma. Listen carefully. Listen carefully. Or they're afraid to say anything, so they just go. And nobody knows. You may be in a temple room full of devotees, and if you're going, nobody knows, right? Nobody really knows. Therefore, the Namacharya, Haridas Thakur, he said, here's how you chant: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And if you chant like that, your heart just dances.
And then you get kicked out of the temple room.
Yeah, so be it. If you do, that means there's some, I don't know, a manager who doesn't know what he's doing. They're content with their Got it? Okay, Sarva.
Yesterday there was, in one of the purports, it gave the idea of how renounced the great devotees were who had to take up universal responsibility. So it said, because ruling over the universe is a great responsibility, Brahma must force many manas in different ages to take charge of universal affairs. And that kind of struck me, that he said he must force them. So in this material world now, there's so many people want power and control, and they want positions, but these great souls are so detached.
Yeah. Then you have to pry them out of it. You got to impeach them or somehow or other, incarcerate them, or just by death they get chased out, but they can't voluntarily renounce. They're too attached. So this is the perfect, Priyavrata is the perfect example of how to, and we're going to hear about Priyavrata and how he lived and how he, fathered children and how he became very attached to all those things. Apparently, externally. But internally, he was blessed. He could do all those things and not become attached. Because he got the blessings of his superiors. And he did what he did. That's Pure devotional service can't be done just on a whim. You know, your service has to be approved, has to be given to you and then approved. You know, we don't do devotional service just whimsically. I mean, personally, I'm in a pretty old position. I'm older, I'm a sannyasi. I can pretty much go wherever I want, do whatever I want to do. But I always check with my godbrothers. Always. I never make any decision about what to do without checking with, you know, Vaisheshika Prabhu, and Shivaram Maharaj, and Giriraj Maharaj, and Tatvaj Maharaj, and others. And then I'm safe. Completely safe.
So, for a new devotee, I mean, we're all kind of new in different ways, but the tendency is to make your own decision. I'll try out Krishna consciousness for a few weeks, or I'll do this, I'll do that. How does one come to the position of asking a spiritual authority, what should I do? Because usually it's sort of like we make our own decisions.
Yayatam mam prapadyante tangstataiva bhajamyaham mamavart manuvartante manushyak partha sarvashaha. Every living being is following Krishna's path, but some of them are being directed by his energy indirectly and some directly. So however they approach Krishna, he responds in kind. So he will never take away that independent will to, because what is surrender? Otherwise, what's the meaning of surrender? If it doesn't require something from us, then what does surrender mean? So according to the degree of surrender, according to the proportion of surrender, how much we're doing for Krishna and how much we're doing for ourselves, to that degree we get the inspiration and the protection and the strength and the reciprocation from Krishna.
There's a question from cyberspace.
Cyberspace. Okay.
From Rati.
Rati, she's so steady, isn't she? Hey Rati, you're the best questions asker in the universe. Well, one of them.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. You have described that Lord Chaitanya took up residence in Jagannath Puri Dham to satisfy the desire of his mother. Was this the only reason, or the main reason? I have heard that Jagannath Puri is a very mysterious place. Could you please elaborate?
Oh, you gotta, my mind went somewhere else right in the middle of that.
Okay.
I need to hear it again.
From the beginning.
Yeah, sorry Rati. I started thinking about something. Go ahead.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. You have described that Lord Chaitanya took up residence in Jagannath Puri Dham to satisfy the desire of his mother. Was this the only reason, or the main reason? I have heard that Jagannath Puri is a very mysterious place. Could you please elaborate?
Well, it's not. Nothing is like that. So simple. You know, is that the only reason? There's never only one reason for anything in this world. There's so many things going on that influence us in so many ways. You know, Ramananda Roy was there. Sarvamanda Bhattacharya was there. Maharaj Pataparud was there. You know, his eternal associates were there. You know, Srup Damodar. So he was, you know, if you have to look at his life as a whole, you know, and when he first came out, he was just appeared to be a little baby, you know, but he was such a baby that everybody was completely charmed by him wherever he went. You know, all the people around that came to see him and gave presents, and Mother Shachi used to send him when his brother Vishwarup was still at home before he took sannyas. he would go to Advaitacharya's house to hear the Bhagavatam every day. And when it came time for lunch, then Mother Shachi would send Nimai, who was just, little boy, naked, little 4 or 5 year boy, naked. And he would go there, and as soon as he walked in the door, everybody, including Advaitacharya, he was so beautiful that they all forgot completely about what they were doing. They became overwhelmed with affection and just, actually they did, but they didn't know. He didn't reveal who he was. And he covered them so that they wouldn't know, And then later he became a student, and he became such a student that no one could touch him when it came to argument. And he would chase the Vaishnavas around, and he would badger them. And they were so terrified when they saw him coming down the street, they would go to the other side of the street so they wouldn't have to confront him, So he appeared to be like this arrogant, like logician, and he was teaching Nyaya and, Sanskrit grammar and all these things, So, but after he took sannyas, after when his father, remember, his father passed away, so then he went to Gaya and took initiation from Ishvara Puri, and as soon as he got the holy name from Ishvara Puri, he just blossomed into Krishna Prema immediately. It was already there. He's Krishna, acting like a pure devotee of himself. So he came back and he started teaching Sanskrit grammar in a way that all he talked about was Krishna, and the students became completely confused. What's going on here? Something's completely changed. All he does is talk about Krishna. And then one time they caught him, chanting the names of the gopis or something like that. And they said, "What are you doing chanting the names of the gopis? You should be chanting Krishna. He's God." They couldn't understand anything. And then he got upset and he chased them with a stick, And then they met afterwards, teenagers, They met afterwards and they said, "Nobody's going to do this to us. Next time he tries this, we're going to pounce on him and beat him," or something like that. They were like very rebellious and very heavy. So, then he took sannyas, and then his mother asked him to go to Puri instead of Vrindavan, but he had his plan, all his, liberated eternal associates, and they began to come out. Once he took sannyas, then his devotees started to come out, and they realized who he was, and then they realized who they were, and then it was a really intimate spiritual scene there in Jagannath Puri. And all the devotees would go from Bengal every year during Chaturmasya and Rath Yatra, and be with Lord Chaitanya, and all these wonderful pastimes would go on. So, yeah, it wasn't just, but externally it appeared like that was the only reason, because he externally appeared like he wanted to go to Vrindavan. But in Vrindavan, at that time, there was nothing practically. There were no temples, there were no devotees, He had to go and bathe in a little pond out in the middle of a paddy field in order to find Radhakund himself. Remember, he was staying there in I think Kururagat or someplace, and there was a boatman on the river, on the Yamuna, and he had a light, and everybody came running by and to Lord Chaitanya and said, "Aren't you going to come? Krishna has come back into the Yamuna." And Lord Chaitanya said, "What? I don't think so," And then his servant, wanted to go also. "I want to go see Krishna too," and he just slapped him. "What are you doing? You idiot!" And then sure enough, it was just a fisherman out there with a light on the. So that was what was going on in Vrindavan. even though it's eternal pastime, a place of Krishna. But all of his eternal associates were there in Jagannath Puri. So he said, yeah, okay, I'll go there. No problem. So these are his eternal pastimes. So it's not, you can say, is that the only reason? Because his mother asked him, and try to make a case that whatever your mother says you got to do no matter what. It's not like that. Although it's a fact that the mother is the original guru, and we have to give proper respect. Hare Krishna, that's it for me, I'm going. Thanks, Raji, for that nice question. That was a fantastic question. Keep it up. Okay, Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Priyavrata Maharaj ki jai. Lord Brahma ki jai. Swayambhu Mani ki jai. Narada Muni ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night, 6:30, same time, same place, same station. Hare Krishna.